Hey, I'm Justin Reid and we're here in my bedroom / my studio with my beautiful desk. I create a lot of my works here because a lot of my work involves that sort of research process and just kind of take an idea or a couple of ideas and explore what's already there and really just expand on that a lot. So obviously the internet really helps with that, but I also just have a billion notebooks that I just fill up with every single sketch or thought that I could think of. So yeah, my desk is definitely my cave, my studio. I started with sound, creating soundscapes or electronic kind of textures and beats and all that kind of stuff because I came from a music background. And then I started playing around with cameras, so I double exposures and layering and kind of After Effects animation kind of stuff, and that led into, I don't know, me wanting to combine elements of physical handmade, whether it's cardboard, whether it's electronics or whatever, with the music, with like just trying to create a whole sort of experience and surround people in sound, surround them in visuals, get them touching things and being a part of the artwork. So that kind of wonder and mystery, and that's what I generally try and cultivate. Sound itself for me is interesting because I'm just obsessive in every way about culture, whether it's music I listen to, whether it's the art that I'm looking at. If I like something, I'm obsessed about it. So I generally try and fail to recreate what other people have done because I think this is perfect and I just want to achieve that perfection. End up creating something completely different because I have nowhere near the same background or skills as the people that I either listen to or look up to, and that kind of just tangentially creates its own thing. So yeah, like it's just me trying to be my heroes and failing. That's the main thing. I think a lot about myself naturally as a human being, so I think about who I am and changes I'm going through and a lot of my sort of frustrations and definitely anxieties. That's something that's really grown big within me in the last 3 years, is like being aware of myself. And I read something in a journal from one of my university classes. Key part to being an artist is self-awareness. So that kind of thing, but also trying to create positivity out of that negativity. So a lot of my early kind of works was dealing with the contrast between light and dark. I guess in classical terms it would be called chiaroscuro, but for me it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's just, that's life, that's humanity, there's always going to be light and dark. I think a lot of my work definitely is trying to comment on something, whether it's something quite personal to me or something that I think should be important to everybody. So one of my main works in 2014 was a little installation called Pollinate, which was basically a large collection of these little packaging boxes I made from recycled cardboard, and I filled them with sunflower seeds. So I actually told people that they can take the boxes and take the seeds and go and plant them and try and grow sunflowers in their garden to get bees to pollinate them, to kind of proliferate that, because one of the main sort of cultural but environmental issues is that with all this bad stuff going on, bees aren't pollinating trees, and without trees we don't live anymore, we don't have oxygen and other animals don't have food. So yeah, I was just trying to comment on that sort of the nature of that. But I also wanted to, make my artwork meaningful, in that if it was successful, I wouldn't have an artwork anymore. So I would destroy my own artwork, but create something better. And it was quite successful because I had maybe 80 of these boxes. They're all gone. Couldn't find one today, so that's good. It was kind of an interesting time where I was so into art, and I'd gone overseas and seen some amazing classical works and some amazing modern and contemporary works, and I just had all these ideas kind of bubbling under the surface of like minimalism and architectural design, but also thinking about these higher order kind of consciousness things, as well as that I was deeply into TV shows. So the show True Detective and the show Hannibal, NBC's Hannibal, they're both amazing stylistically, artistically, emotionally, in terms of like, I'll come back to that term, chiaroscuro. So they use a lot of contrast of good and bad, but also like they're really exploring that area in the middle of good people who do bad things, bad people who do good things. So that theme, the destroy to create, is an Indian philosophy. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the god who sort of emulated that. But yeah, it kind of just all came together one night when it was like 3 a.m. and I was like, I'm going for a shower, I need to stop like stressing about this, and it just kind of hit me, like every little bit came together, and then I was like, okay, pollinate, it just makes sense to me from here. Like it's a nice little minimalist form, and I'm destroying my artwork to create something, but it's something important as well. It has those sort of architectural elements too, because I kind of stacked them all up on the inside of like a little cardboard beehive that I created. The sound piece that went with it, basically I had this like sound vision of like a buzzing hive. So I wanted to make it like a bee experience, if you will. So I started with like a sample of like a hive of bees buzzing, but I dabble a lot with like electronic sounds without really knowing too much about the theory. So I know just enough that I can make like a composition, but I tend to go way overboard and just add layers and layers and layers. But it's kind of good because it just slowly builds up, and maybe the hive sound kind of drowns out a bit. So it becomes like this natural thing that just grows and grows and grows, and then builds back down again. And I pretty much just looped that. So when you were in the like gallery and when you were seeing the exhibition, you could kind of hear this sort of low droning noise, and then as you sort of moved closer or moved through the actual gallery, you could hear it grow, and then you'd be like, what is this? And then you can explore it and see what the go is, and then you can say, oh, I can actually take one of these things and go plant some seeds. I've always been cataloging, always been collecting, and like this is just an important way for me, I guess, to visualize or chronicle what I'm doing and what I'm working on. And yeah, like I wouldn't be able to work towards something without writing down a billion things. I started with just like some basic sort of ideas, and I wanted to communicate this kind of lightness and darkness. I wanted to express myself, thinking about all that identity kind of stuff, so identity there. And then I was, drawing in all these influences of like contemporary stuff, and I just sort of started settling on these ideas of, the bee stuff and the architectural form. So I sketched out like what I envisioned would be like little hexagonal box, which ended up leading to the pollinate sort of shape. And then I was like obsessed with minimalism, obsessed with this idea of like fonts and text that you can't see all the parts of the letters. So I sketched a logo as well, and that basically you can read what it says, but it's not so clear cut. So I know nothing about font design, I know nothing about typefaces, but I was like, I'll just create my own, it'll be absolutely fine. This was actually the original prototype of the box, so you can fold it up and it will become a good hexagon, not with this horrible quality paper though. I went on this like quest for the perfect paper, and I found it at this little craft store, and 250 GSM recycled craft paper. Yeah, and I went in like multiple times, and by the third time the lady was like, oh, the usual, and I was like, yep. For me, when I picture the word ethereal, I'm picturing like this mist and like these lights and I don't know, some kind of figure, some kind of just spectre that is maybe pulling strings or maybe, influencing whatever. So I want to create these experiences for people. I want them to take it in, and I want them to get hands-on with it so they can, have a more meaningful art experience. Because while I love painting, I love traditional art forms, I also think that art should be more inclusive. So I think by creating this sort of mystery and creating that kind of like experience, like the sound and everything all rolled into one, and they're getting hands-on with it. It's a way for me to communicate that it's okay for you to be involved, or okay for people to be a part of the artwork and help me make it more than it is. Because if I made Pollinate and it was just some boxes there and I didn't indicate that people could take them, or if I didn't try and draw people in with some kind of, you know, new and interesting way of experiencing the art, then my art wouldn't really mean anything to me. And it was hard, because, you know, making something that you're just giving away for free, like I put in a ridiculous amount of hours, but the point of it was for other people to have it. That's an interesting thing to deal with, but like, it was a great experience for me. So.